issue is a policy where there are two sides. There can be two opinions or two ways at the very minimum to approach a problem. In this case, it has to do with how can we use technology to better provide public safety, particularly in a highly dense community with heavy traffic and a lot of turning movements. So the technology called red light camera enforcement uses cameras, so when you come to a corner, to hope that folks, drivers, actually do take a full stop and are cautious and don't turn on a red light because of the traffic. And so the village has been involved in a red light camera program since 2006 when a decision was made to go that route, and actually the program went into actual operation in the winter of 2008. So it's been in place in Oak Lawn for some time. And during the budget cycle, village staff and the administration were exposed to some new technology that's developed since 2006 and more competition in this industry. Our current carrier, Redflex, is an Australian company with offices in Phoenix. We decided to open the field and explained to our current carrier that we wanted to consider other intersections and we would take what's called an RFP, request for proposals for professional services. And we had 3 proposals, 3 wonderful companies who responded. Our current company, Redflex, an Australian company. Second company, Gatsos. Gatsos is a German company, again with offices in Beverly, Massachusetts. And the third was SafeSpeed, which is a company based in Chicago, Illinois. So our administrative team met to go over the proposals, which came in last Thursday. We looked at them over the weekend. We met on Monday. The team is comprised of our Chief of Police, Mike Murray, our Public Works Director, our Finance Director, our Village Engineer, myself, and my assistant. And we've been studying those proposals, and in light of what's on the agenda, I wanted to give the board an update on what my recommendation is. And if the board agrees with that recommendation, I believe we can have a full proposal to you for action on January 28th. I intend to reduce those 3 proposals to 2. I intend to reduce them so that the 2 finalists would be Redflex, our current company, and SafeSpeed, which is a new entry into the field, the Chicago company. I've spoken to the presidents of those 2 companies. I've invited them to give a presentation next Wednesday, the 22nd, time yet to be determined. I will publicly notice that meeting, so anyone who wants to attend it is welcome. And I have also reached out to Trustee Terry Vorderer, who's our public safety police liaison, asked him to attend, and I certainly welcome attendance by any other members of the Board of Trustees. And our administration will draw straws. One will get to present first, 20-minute presentation followed by questions, and then the second one will make the presentation. After that meeting, we will go into a non-public meeting as a administrative team, discuss the presentation, the factual submittals, the finances involved, to make a recommendation for the board's action on January 28th. Item number 2, weather. To the gentleman, I think in the Green Bay jacket, who's been a frequent visitor here, and I want to disclose I'm a Chicago Bears fan, so I probably have a bias. And maybe that's why I left the room. I don't see him here yet. But we purchase snow through a competitive, cooperative bid issued by the state of Illinois. We've been doing that for years. We have not changed the practice. The actual
You mean salt,
contract,
right, Larry? Not snow.
You got a lot
Say
of that.
snow?
You bought
Salt.
a lot of that.
You bought a little
Yeah.
too much.
Did I buy too much? Well, we bought some salt, and we purchased that in March of 2013. And in that purchase, we purchased, get my numbers out here, to help the gentleman, we purchased 4,000, let me repeat, 4,000 tons. In that contract, because it's a cooperative bid and many, many municipalities purchase from the company, SALT has a regular scheduled delivery. Unfortunately, Mother Nature doesn't send us an email telling us when the first dump is going to be, the second dump, what hour, etc. So there are time periods between snowfalls, and the other gentleman mentioned one of our trustees. He was absolutely correct. We have had already, as of today, 18 snow events. And a snow event is when there's sufficient snow and/or ice building on the road that we'll get a call from a citizen at our 911, police will call, and our public works crew, which are 24/7 mode when we go into the snow season, are called, and we have to call in men and women in on overtime, or we deploy our men and women to handle those events. So we've already had 18 events, and we've used 3,100 tons of salt already. So how does that compare to other winters and years? There is a radical difference, but the real driving factor is events. So our emergency manager, Commander Clark, I'm going to have Art come up here to the podium. We, as Trustee Vorderer has indicated, back in 2007, 2008, made a decision to be better prepared when it comes to all kinds of emergencies, weather, natural disasters, events that may happen, terrorism, etc. And with the cooperation of the federal government, Cook County, state of Illinois, and our wonderful hospital, Advocate Hospital in this community, who's also been a key player, we've really established a fine program. And this gentleman here, I can tell you during this event, our number one most important concern would have been someone who's not as fortunate as anybody here in the room. They don't have a roof over their head. They may not have a home. And with those weather conditions, we wanted to make sure there was sufficient warming centers, and on a Sunday night that we would open this village hall and make sure that any man or woman who was distressed or had a need had a place to stay. That's our number one priority. It's called public safety. Yes, you want to make sure the streets are taken care of. Yes, you want to make sure that we're getting residential streets, like Tim mentioned, as quickly as we can get to. But we're in the life safety business. This gentleman here, who served multiple tours in Iraq, Afghanistan, and serves as someone who allows us to be here and have freedom, and also serves as a commander in this police department. We put him in charge of that program. I have full confidence in him, full communications back and forth with the mayor, back and forth with me. I did have communications by email with trustees over the weekend. And I'm 24/7. If there's a citizen or someone who has a concern, okay, Steve Barrett there, who's manning on a Saturday or a Sunday, picking up phones, answering, taking calls, there's no question about it. Our job is to do the best we can. And I always say, if you go to our website, we can always do a better job. We're not perfect by any means, but we do our very best we can. We did not change our procedure. We did not change our manpower deployment as part of the budget deliberations. The men and women who do this in and out every year, and the procedure we have is down pat, is pretty doggone good, but Mother Nature sometimes does make it difficult. Take it from there, Commander.
Okay, well, good evening, Board and members of the public. What you're going to see here is a short presentation which just kind of encapsulates various reporting on events from each of the Oak Lawn departments that were involved. The snow event was broken down into 3 phases here. We did the pre-event. Those are the days leading up to the forecast of severe weather. So the steps that various departments took to advise the public or to get the employees ready to respond to the event. Then the major portion of the event was the 5th through the 8th, And then, as a result of events of this nature, when you have that level of snow or that degree of cold weather and freezing, there's going to be follow-on events that occur as the thaw occurs, water main breaks, those kind of things. So that's what we're going to see here. Next slide, please.
Time out, I'm sorry, I forgive me. Ken Ritter, Division Manager for Water, probably one of the unsung heroes out there are the men and women who are fixing water breaks. During this period of time, whether you're in Bloomington, Illinois, New York City, or in Oak Lawn, water breaks with the freeze thaw and the dramatic drops or increases in temperatures, pipes are breaking because of age and stress. And the men and women that are under Ken's supervision are out there in these conditions fixing water mains. Trustee Desmond was absolutely correct. Those are the unsung heroes that are out there, are getting the job done. Commander.
Okay, so this is just basically a snapshot of the weather and snowfall and also temperatures. Temperatures there are the actual recorded temperatures, do not reflect wind chill, which was significantly higher during portions of the storm season. We had wind chills of between minus 30 and minus 40 degrees. Next slide, please. So what you'll see in the slides that follow is just little bullets from what each of the departments were doing. On the EMA side, we try to provide as much warning to the public as possible about the nature of the event, steps that you can take to prepare your home, stuff that you should have in your car, what you should do as far as contacting with your neighbors, or if you have people in your neighborhood or your family who have disabilities. Those informations are posted not only on the Oak Lawn Emergency Management Agency's Facebook page, but also on the Village webpage, and then it is running as a continuous crawl on Channel 4, so residents would be able to see it there as well. Several updates were posted on the 2nd and 3rd once more information from the National Weather Service is becoming available, and I'm sure everybody was watching the news and stuff at their homes, so everyone knew what's coming on. For the police, the fire department, 911 center, we do cold weather events, so there are certain things that each department will be doing in terms of making sure that all their equipment is ready to go. Their officers or firefighters or employees are aware that, hey, these are the types of considerations to be thinking about. Public Works will not only be doing, at this time, they were finishing work on the snow event that they had on 12/31, so crews were already out doing snow removal or preparation work. They also dealt with several water main breaks which occurred on the 4th of January. Next slide, please. All right, during the major portion of the event, we had a couple of significant areas that we dealt with. There was a brief power outage in Oak Lawn the night of the 5th and into the morning of the 6th. We had 333 homes that were affected without power. Power was restored at 12:08 a.m. In the interim, I was on the phone dealing with Commonwealth Edison's agency representative, Katie Myers, also in contact with the watch commander to let them know that here are the areas, the community that is affected without power. The watch commander did take one call from a resident saying, hey, our power is out. Is there a backup plan for what we can do if this is going to be a long duration event? We opened up the village hall, the auditorium, and we're prepared to take residents in here, or depending if the outage would grow or whatever, to adjust our plan for the other locations in the village that we could take people to get them out of the weather until the power was restored. Fortunately, power was restored in about 37 minutes. We had one major water event over at the trailer park on Cicero where a large number of the trailers had frozen pipes and water delivery in from the street into the trailer park itself was affected, so people did not have water for a period of time. Our property maintenance office, myself, and the owner and contractors who work for the trailer park resolved that problem, so those people did not have to move out of their trailers. Police department, fire department, 911 center were then in the mode of taking calls and responding to calls as they came in. And further at the end of this presentation, we'll talk about that. Next slide, please. All right. Here's a little snapshot of some of the major things that Public Works was dealing with. Had 9 additional water breaks during this 3-day period. They also had residents calling regarding 31 individual frozen lines into residential homes.
We have 22,000 homes. That's our 22,000, just to give you in perspective, 22,000.
Okay. On the 5th, the garbage contractor advised that because of the severity of the weather, not only with the snow, but also the temperatures, and their concern for their crews operating and, picking up trash on Monday, we sent out an Everbridge message, also posted it on the village website, and advised people that scheduled pickups for the Monday was going to shift one day at that time. That was their plan.
Let me stop right there. I take full responsibility, and I apologize to anybody who was inconvenienced. We've talked this over as a team, and I think we information overloaded, and we sent 2 messages confusing. We sent the messages in an effort to say that your solid waste company, Republic, which does an outstanding job, by the way, for the community, that they had already caught up by midweek, and they were now on the regular schedule. We sent another message out. All we did was confuse folks, because not everybody is looking at their iPhone or constantly looking at text messages or message they receive. So we've looked at that. We're talking about it, but I take full responsibility. We could have handled that better.
Larry, I have one question. My understanding was it was the Waste Management Company that made that decision to not pick it up.
That is correct. Sunday, they informed us, they asked, they said, this is only the 4th time in our history as a corporation that the weather has been so extreme that we've made a decision corporate-wide and with our employees and unions that represent our employees, that we're not going to put our men and women on the street Monday. Just like school officials on Sunday were making decisions, close or not close a school, concern about the health and safety of youth, so were other organizations making decisions. We accommodated the company. We thought it was the right decision, and we got a message out, and then the next message again, one more time. I accept full responsibility. I'm sorry. I believe that we confused some folks by that message, but we did keep, with the cooperation of both our Public Works and our Solid Waste Company, we ran an additional day Saturday. My observation from the complaints I received Friday from some of our trustees, I was out Saturday looking at garbage cans in neighborhoods, and they were picked up, and that, from what I can still at this point, that confusion was handled. Nobody had trash on their street for multiple days. Thank you, Art.
Okay.
Go. Thank you. Go
See
ahead,
me right here when the meeting's over. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
Who'd they call?
Okay.
Called the mayor's office and I spoke to Carmen, and she kept saying that they were coming, that they were coming.
Carmi did notify the waste hauler.
I know.
Just, and we will get your garbage.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
that they didn't. I'm saying it's still there and they keep promising to come, she keeps coming.
Okay,
I'm trying to blame them.
Right.
thank you.
Okay. The snapshot, you see the asterisk in the mark, that reflects man-hours expended during the operation by the Streets and Sewer Department. When we say streets and sewers, they're augmenting. Usually when the Street Department is in the plowing mode business, they will get augmented from sewer employees who are not dealing with sewer main issues, and they will also go out and man plows. Next slide, please. So we started doing post-event events starting on the 9th. Basically, our responsibility now is kind of collect all this data so that I can provide this to the Illinois Emergency Management Agency in Cook County so that they can keep data and then also see whether federal reimbursement is going to be available for any of these expenses. So this report is kind of as a result of that. The police department, fire department are back in their normal mode. You can see the notation there from the fire department. They did not have any difficulties or problems with maneuvering to calls. Additional 200 man-hours were expended by Public Works during this period. Next slide, please. This is a snapshot, year-to-year comparison just from 2013 and 2014. Total number of calls received by the fire department and the police department. You can actually see during this event, calls to the police department actually were down in comparison to the previous year. And then we also looked at the total number of accidents which occurred during this period and the 2013 period as well. And you can see those figures there. Now, if you have any additional specific questions, department heads are here and they can answer those questions for you. Unless you have any other questions?
Thank you, Commander.
Okay. Thanks.
President, I have nothing further under my section.
Thank you. Excellent report. Number 10 is a request to approve a Planning and Development Commission referral for a special use permit to allow for a 4-unit building in an R1 zone district at 9443 South 55th Court. This was a 7-0 motion to approve. Petition 2013-33, Ronald Morgan, petitioner in District 2. And item 11 on the agenda is an ordinance granting that request. May I have a motion, please, on item 10 and 11?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Olejniczak.
Second.
Seconded by trustee Desmond. Any discussion, please, on these two items?
I would just like to add that this is a situation that we have in a couple areas in District 2 that are non-conforming multifamily use in Second District. These are specifically in neighborhoods that have been some of the earliest neighborhoods in the village of Oak Lawn, when at the time there was no ordinance against having multifamily. And this gentleman, to his credit, the landowner, and he's here, he came, fill out the paperwork to make sure everything was registered. At that time, that's when the village said, hey, we've got an ordinance that says that you can't have a multifamily. This is pre-existing. And is the petitioner in the audience? Could you?
Would you like to come to the podium, please, and state your name?
My name is Ronald Morgan. I've been a resident for 25 years.
Thank you.
And Mr. Morgan bought this property over 25 years, and all he's trying to do is make sure that he is current within the laws. And he also is having his son, which, is your son with you, sir?
Yes, sir.
His son is going to be the one that's going to be taking over ownership of the property, and that was a concern at the time that because it's non-conforming, would his son have issues? So all he asked for is to go up in front of the PD&C, and they did a very good job at listening to the issues and asked for this amendment to the ordinance. I can tell you that this property has been a rental property in Second District for as long as I've been a trustee, and probably even longer than that, maybe when I was in grade school. And there has been no issues there. I took a look at the police reports. Even in residents that came out to the public meeting had nothing but good things to say about this landlord. So that's why I strongly suggest that we move forward with this.
Very good. Any other discussion regarding item 10 and 11? Please call the roll.
Trustee Streit?
No.
Trustee Olejniczak?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks for coming out. Item 12 and 13 on the agenda. Item 12 is a request to approve a Planning and Development Commission referral for a special use permit to allow for the purchase of precious metals in a C2 zone district at 4710 West 95th Street. This is Unit 7B like boy. It was a 5-2 vote to approve. Petition 2013-34, Jacob Sadoff, petitioner in District 2. And item 13 is an ordinance granting that request. May I have a motion, please, on items 12 and 13?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Olejniczak,
I'll second.
seconded by trustee Vorderer. Any discussion on this item? Or these items?
Madam President.
Trustee Vorderer.
Yeah, I'd just like to point out that this is not an additional business of this nature. This is a business moving from one location, a Cicero Avenue location, to the shopping center at Coral Plaza. That's all.
And trustee Carberry.
Yeah, I know there was some concerns on the signage. I mean, is this
Trustee
pending?
Carberry, I think that the village manager answered those questions, and that's going to be taken care of in our review for the sign review.
Yes, Mayor and Board, trustee Olejniczak is absolutely correct. Our Architectural Design and Review Board met last Thursday, and they're working with the applicant to get a sign that is consistent with the overall design standards of the community.